in this self-evaluation maintenance model, we might also say that we could expect that people who have a high standing on a relevant dimension are motivated to protect their position, right? Keeping up being the best, because it would be threatening to their self-concept if someone else was suddenly better at the thing that they cared about. And there's a study that tried to provide some evidence for this here, or to test this conjecture. And in this study, participants were told to imagine that they were a full professor at Harvard Law School, and so far they themselves had the highest number of publications. 25 in the Harvard Law Review, more than any other Harvard faculty member, or they were asked to imagine that they had 95 in total, more than any other Harvard faculty member. So they were further told, although the law school already had a full faculty, they were trying to hire one more professor, and they were thinking about either Professor Jones, who had 75 publications in total, including 30 in the Harvard Law Review, or they were told that there might have been Professor Smith, who had 100 publications in total, including 20 in the Harvard Law Review. So, what do you expect? Which of the candidates are preferred? Now, if participants were told to imagine they had the highest number of publications in the quality journal, so the 25 Harvard Law Review publications, then 69% preferred the candidate Smith, who actually had the most total publications. Who actually had the most total publications, so as to not lose their standing in terms of most publications in the specific journal. In the other condition, if participants had the highest total number of publications, 95, most of them preferred the other candidate Jones, who had the highest number of Harvard Law Review publications, but overall, the number of publications of this professor was lower. So, again, this is evidence that people comply with these self-evaluation maintenance model, and this goes to show that we sometimes try to protect our standing in domains that seem to be relevant to us. So what we've seen so far is that there are self-enhancement strategies and how we can deal with threatening upward comparisons with close superior others. But we could wonder whether upward comparisons can also be inspiring. So what about distant superior others, like superstars, models, sports people? I want to ask you to think about who your idols are, who some distant people that are superior to you in performance in some kind of a relevant domain are, and why you idolize them, and if you actually find them inspiring or demoralizing. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about it. Do superstars inspire us, or do they demoralize us? Well, the consequences of our social comparisons depend on domain relevance, right? Like, do I care about being a figurative god in this domain? And also about the attainability of success. Can I ever be as amazing as this person? Let's look at some data for this. In particular, let's look at some data where someone was presented either as a star accountant or a star teacher to future accountants and future teachers who were later asked to give information about their self-evaluation. Now, if you present a star accountant to future accountants, meaning this is a relevant category for them to be good at accounting, they felt better after being exposed to the star than when they were exposed to the star teacher, where they just, they wouldn't be able to do something about becoming this amazing. So there it was actually inspiring to be exposed to someone who in their domain was excelling. And for future teachers, we see the same pattern. If future teachers were exposed to a star future teacher, so that would be the relevant comparison to make, they also had a higher self-evaluation afterwards than if they were exposed to a star accountant, because accounting in this case was not a skill that they would be working on in their education to become a teacher. Okay, so self-enhancement can also take place when we compare ourselves to others in a domain that's close to us, if it is actually achievable for us to achieve that, this superior standing. Here's some more evidence. So some first and final year accounting students read about a final year superstar accounting student. So again, there's an upward social comparison going on, or they didn't read anything. That's a control condition. And then they were asked to rate their potential career success themselves. So in the no target condition, the two groups actually didn't differ much in terms of how likely they thought they were going to excel in their career. But after being exposed with the graduate superstar type of person, first year accounting students felt more inspired, and they felt that their rated probability of having a successful career was actually higher than people who were close to graduating themselves. Why? Well, because if you're like super close to graduating, you don't have much time, much opportunity to seize the moment and become a superstar yourself if you aren't one yet. So it matters not only, as we've seen before, that the domain is relevant to you, but also that it's possible for you to achieve something in that domain still. So in other words, to summarize this, the same upward standard may produce opposite effects. So if the domain relevance says that self-views are not affected when the domain is irrelevant to the self. And on the other hand, regarding attainability, we can experience self-enhancement and inspiration when success seems attainable, or self-deflation when the standard seems unattainable.